Morning, Chris. How's it going today?
Good morning, Ron. Going well. Looking forward to diving in. This is going to be our last in the series for buying groups and group purchasing organizations. And today we're going to be talking about the all important topic of pricing. And we're going to be looking at some of the different logic for showing pricing. Of course, for anyone that has a buying group or you're thinking about setting up a buying group or a group purchasing organization, you know how complex some of the pricing rules can be and some of the pricing logic so that you can appropriately show the cost, the price, and tie that to inventory, fulfillment, all of these aspects. And then to do it at scale, Ron, and make it very automated and accurate and high credibility. Well, this is what you really have to have experts to work with really across the board, right? And a
Oh,
really
yeah.
powerful system to be able to do it.
Yeah. You don't want to be selling in quantities of 1,000 and have a mess up on the website and sell things at a loss and have it exacerbated at volume. So, yeah, it's exciting. We're going to take a little bit of time today. And although we're calling this one kind of the B2B e-commerce multi-tiered pricing, we're going to go in and define what multi-tiered pricing is. And then we're going to talk and differentiate the different types of tiered pricing. One of them is called pricing rules. We'll differentiate between the difference, but we'll talk about how your solution should be able to handle multiple models. And we'll talk about what those models are. And at the tail end today, we'll do things a little bit different than just talk about it. I'm actually going to go in and we'll do a demo of one of our live buying group platforms. And I'll walk through it and we'll talk about the pricing and we'll show that. And I'll walk you through the numbers and you can see it change in real time without me even thinking about or knowing that the numbers are changing. And you'll see all of these different tiered pricing auto apply. And then we can talk about how that also affects reordering. So let's go ahead and dive in. Chris, why don't you give us a deep definition of what you think multi-tiered, sometimes I call it MTP, multi-tiered pricing. Sometimes clients want to call it CSP, customer specific pricing. Other times different clients call it pricing rules. But go ahead and dive in and give me what your definition of multi-tiered pricing, especially when it comes to buying groups, what your understanding of what it is.
Absolutely. So I think at the end of the day, you want to be in a position where we're transferring accurate pricing data based on things like loyalty, quantity, possibly for a specific shipment or fulfillment. Are we meeting a certain minimum threshold that the manufacturer or distributor needs? And, is this particular customer one of the first customers? Or are they a certain type of customer? Are they purchasing or enrolled in a membership program of some type that gives them a specific type of discount? And then the combination of all of those factors that needs to result in the actual pricing data that's shown to the user. And we should be able to present a kind of retail or a kind of public version of the site to folks. So this may mean that no pricing shows up unless you're logged in. It may show kind of a retail pricing. And then once you're logged in, you see specific pricing data based on your account. There could be a scenario where it makes sense to change the pricing based on the physical location that we're shipping to because it's physically more proximate. It's getting fulfillment from a different fulfillment location. So we may want to show pricing data based on that kind of a breakdown. And so these are all scenarios that can apply. And ultimately, we want to kind of go through each of these and just kind of break them out into detail and explain how you might be able to leverage some of these techniques to encourage your folks, your members within the buying group, and really to make it a profitable enterprise for everyone, really to the extent that you can take advantage of these pricing rules and the presentation thereof. You're going to be managing the expectations and helping your customers truly understand how the business works, how the buying group works, and how to take advantage of that for themselves. So what do you think, Ron? Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I love everything you've talked about. Sometimes for some, they're like, wow, that's really complex. Break it down really simple. Okay, Costco. If I walk into Costco and try to buy, maybe they'll sell to me without a membership, but I would pay retail price. If I have a membership, I pay a different price. There's the tiered pricing, a member price. It's a different price. And then they now sell an executive membership. Now, some might at that executive membership think, ooh, I get a better price. You don't. There's only one price. There's retail, there's member price. That's it. If you buy the executive membership, they give you 1% back, and they pay that in a check every summer, right? You get a check with 1% cash back, and that calls a loyalty program. So that right there is a very simple tiered pricing. There's only one tier, member or not. And then if you go to the second tier, instead of being a different tiered price, they make it a loyalty program where you get 1% cash back. And that's why they call it an executive membership. If you're doing a lot of bulk, big buying for businesses and can get 1% back, then that's obviously a bonus. And so they've broken out that tier for corporate accounts, right? And so there is a two-tiered, very simple buying group model. But yeah, they can get really complex, and there can be all kinds of different tiers. Another one that we see quite often is where it'll be a master distributor, and they'll be our client putting together a system, and they'll have resellers, wholesalers, other distributors, and that's it. Those are the three tiers. And when each of those log in, they get different quantity price breaks, and they get different pricing uplifts on the costing models on the products, right? So there's three simple tiers. So there's a couple simple examples, but as we go through this, we'll start really diving into some of those scenarios that you gave, especially how they go hand in hand with purchasing and ordering, because that can also change the way we might want to serve up price, right? Especially when it comes to quantity price breaks and maybe seasonality. I mean, right now, gas is really expensive. Why? Everybody's blaming it on the oil companies, which is true. I mean, they're making profits on one, but every single year before this year, gas prices have gone up for the summer. They know people are going on summer vacations. Gas prices always go up every summer, at least $1 a gallon. And it's happened for the last 20 years that I've been driving, right? So that is a seasonality type thing. So there's a lot of different things that can affect price. We want to make sure that your platform is prepared to handle those changes in price, both in potentially, I don't want to say gouging your customers, but exploiting or capitalizing on benefits you may get by being able to buy at a lower cost at volume. And or potentially ensuring margins as costs rise, the prices on your website go up accordingly, so your margin is protected, right? So those are some of the different things we'll talk about today. So let's go in and talk about, and we just kind of call this Clarity's logic, but it's just the logic that Chris and I are putting forth, that whether you choose the Clarity solution or whether you go with another solution, these are just some of the things that you want to think about and some of the strategies. So I'm going to touch these just at a high level, and then I'm going to want Chris to dive into them from a technical perspective. So first off, and I think it's kind of doesn't really need to be said, but you want to make sure the platform is flexible, right? I mean, we have 4 different pricing models out of the box in our platform, and they can have some kind of a hybrid, and we can even customize and do other things. So whether it's multi-tiered pricing, it's pricing rules, it's flat pricing, which has 4 built-in tiers. I call that one the Costco model. Or whether you have pricing hooks. So whether there are certain things where we'll have clients that come in, and if they buy certain things, it could actually run a script that goes into their ERP, checks to see what the quantity is on hand, or checks to see what the latest cost was of the latest ones that were shipped in, and might adjust the price in real time accordingly on the website. And that would be using a price hook to auto calculate based on maybe who the client is, the quantity that they're buying, and the particular cost today, right? And all those things can be taken into account and adjust the price every single time the client logs in. That happens a lot with oil and gas, right? They'll have us go all the way down to 4 and 5 decimals in the dollar count, and they'll adjust every single time. And then we'll look at the ability to set pricing levels for different accounts or tiers, and then we'll talk about pricing rules. So go ahead and start talking about technically, what does flexibility mean? I mean, everybody uses that term, scalable, customizable, flexible, right? We all do. I mean, everybody in marketing does. But what the heck does that really mean when it comes to pricing? What is flexibility, and what are the different things we see with our clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. So You have the pragmatic reality of operating your business or scaling the already successful business. And as anyone knows that's kind of engaged in this activity, you have to prioritize. And there's kind of a trade off between functioning the business and getting immediate results versus executing at a more optimized in a more optimized way. And so there has to be flexibility to be able to focus, execute, get great results, and then progress to the next level of optimization. And this is really just a constant that there is change, there is a need, a necessity for flexibility and the ability to essentially preemptively know where you're going. Where are you going to go with your business? And what are the different steps in your scaling that you're going to need to be there before maybe even you know about them? And so, this is what we mean by flexibility with the pricing, for example. One of the key factors here is that a lot of our clients will come up with a simple pricing model to begin with, but that needs to integrate with their ERP system. So whenever they make changes, possibly they make more kind of levels of pricing or more quantity price breaks. The e-commerce system, the buying group software, it needs to be able to dynamically incorporate those additional levels of fidelity, if you will. In addition to that, it may make sense to adjust the actual pricing model for different types of users. So you may want to present a certain type of model that's just pure quantity break to some users, but then roll out a robust loyalty program that is cumulative or additive with the multi-tiered pricing, for example, so that someone who's part of the loyalty program gets an additional benefit, and you can encourage them as more premier users or more select users, so that those members get bigger discounts, but they also have to maybe commit to more ongoing revenue that's going to funnel through the system. So we see these kind of things a lot, and that flexibility is, it's not just a kind of theoretical flexibility. Oh, we can do this, we can make it happen. I mean, frankly, a lot of platforms don't have that ability to be flexible. So you should probably ask, and by probably I mean definitely. um, and ultimately, this is really what inspired us to build our e-commerce platform. We worked with a lot of clients who suffered from essentially being painted into a corner and therefore not having a flexible solution. So you're going to invest a lot of resources into whatever software you're working with, and you want to kind of ask the basic questions. Is it flexible? Now, once you kind of get past the theoretical, though, then it's on to the reality of scaling and growing your business. And that's really what your partner, your software partner, should be focusing on. How can we help you to grow your business and make it more self-service for your customers and any vendors you work with, and really everyone internally within your company? And how can we establish a path, a roadmap, to progress you through these different kind of optimizations that are natural as you scale? So anyway, pretty detailed there, but the point is that you want to be thinking about this with your pricing. It's actually really challenging to kind of reset pricing expectations once you get them going, right, Ron? And this is
Yeah.
something we want you to be thinking about up front.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Um, so I think I'm going to define real quick while we're on this screen where we're talking about the difference between multi-tiered pricing and pricing rules. Let's walk through a couple different examples of what that might be. So theoretically, the multi-tiered pricing would be something very simple, like I want to set a pricing level. And what I'll do is I've got in one of my platforms in my demo site, I'll just go in and I'll create a couple different tiers here, and I'll just grab a quick screenshot so that you can see for this particular product, and I don't know what it's going to be on the screen, but I'll take a particular product and we'll look at the price, and then we'll create three different tiers, right? We'll have one for wholesale, resell, and distributors. And you can see that the wholesale might be on the far right, an uplift of whatever that percent is, right? So I might go in and do something like 15%, 25%, 35%, and then 40%. So retail uplift might be 40%. And then a reseller, the uplift might be 30%. And then for a wholesaler, it might be 20%. And then a distributor, they might be a 10%. And so basically, it will look into your ERP. When we build a buying group platform, we'll typically integrate with the client's ERP. So as the cost of the product, as they buy it and purchase, and the cost in the ERP, we'll take that literal cost and we'll uplift by those percentages so the prices can adjust as your costs adjust. That way, if the price goes up, then obviously your margin's protected for each of those tiers. As the price goes down, if you want it to, it can be protected as well and give a better and more aggressive price. So as you benefit and get a lower price, your buyers get a lower price as well. And you're always guaranteed your 10, 20, 30% margin, whatever that looks like. So that's setting different tiers. How that differs with pricing rules. Pricing rules would be something like, we went in, Chris and I, and we own a buying group platform, and we were lucky enough to buy out a Costco Drugs when they went out of business. And so we have all this extra stuff in the warehouse, and we want to clear it out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go put everything with that tag, and we're going to set a pricing rule that for the next 30 days, everything with this particular tag is an extra 20% off. Or we want to offer on Costco, we want to say, hey, it's getting close to back to school. So at Costco, we want to run a 20% off all clothing, kids' clothing, before 2 weeks before school starts. So we would set a price rule. We would set it on kids' clothing, and we would put a timing on that and say for the next 2 weeks, all clothing in the kids' clothing section is 20% off. That's a price rule, and that's very different than a price tier. And most of these, for the most part, are auto-applied. So that is a little bit different than typical promotions and or discounts, right? So within our platform, and I'm bringing up another screenshot here, where you can see we have a toggle as to whether or not when we go create a discount code, whether that discount is auto-applied or not. You know, you want to do auto-applied things like once the cart hits $500, shipping is automatically free. They don't want to have to try to remember that and to type in a code, right? So that would be an auto-applied discount to the cart, where another auto-applied discount or promotion might be the BOGO, right? Buy one, get one free. Ours, as you can see here, and I'll put it on the screen, is buy X, get Y. So I could say, hey, if you buy 2 bags of salt for your pool, you can get 3 pool toys for free, right? They can be completely disparate, not related, different things like that. So those would be promotions, discounts, pricing rules, and pricing tiers. They're all very different, but all of those strategies are things that when you start up front, as Chris said, sit down, talk about the strategy, and figure out where you think you might want to go and the things you might want to do. It's always easier to implement up front and slowly add things in than to put it in, have something wrong, and then try to back those expectations out after your users are already used to using the site. And some of them like that. And then you realize you made a mistake. It is so hard to back those out. So sit down with your consultant up front, talk through all the different scenarios, figure out truly how flexible and customizable their platform is, write down all the different options, and then you can take that back to the business team and talk about all the different things you may want to do to help improve sales, increase retention, loyalty, all of those different things, and then come back and make sure that the strategies that make sense for you are all things that are on the table and available to you. So sliding forward, let's go in and talk about determining the price and figuring out how to calculate. Now, obviously, the ability to have these capabilities can affect this, right, Chris? I mean, if I don't have the ability to do pricing tiers or I don't have the ability to do pricing rules, then that just puts so much more pressure on ensuring that I set the price right to begin with, right? But the great thing about this, and I'm going to just mention the first bullet or two, and then I'm going to let you kind of tear into this. If I have the ability to experiment with things on the platform, and I can dynamically do that within the pricing tables, right? I can go into the ERP and go, you know what? I'm going to go out and do a campaign to all my distributors, and I'm going to tell them for the month of July, I'm really trying to move all the pool stuff. It's not moving like I want it to. I'm going to go in and tell them for the month of July, if they buy at least $500 a pop, I'm going to give them another 10% off. And I'm going to experiment with that strategy and see if that makes a dent, right? Does it do anything? Do any of my uh, resellers, wholesalers, distributors, do they bite? Does that strategy work, right? And if you have a platform that can adjust and automatically, dynamically, and make it easy to apply those changes, right? You don't want to have to go back to your developer and pay 10 grand of custom development in 3 months to try to roll something out that you want to try this weekend and see if it works, right? You have to have a platform. Sometimes they call it A/B testing or multivariate testing. What are the different variations of strategies you can implement and try? What works, what doesn't work, what spaghetti can we throw against the wall, get some feedback and make adjustments to help improve the business, right? So for me as the marketing and sales guy, that's always what I'm looking at. Obviously, from a business owner and from a technical perspective, your perspective is probably and could be very different than mine, right? So go ahead and start diving into some of these different things and give me your take on how the platform needs to be able to address and deal with these items.
Absolutely. So the reality, like you just said, Ron, is that depending on the situation, the buying group needs to be able to adapt and test. And we really need to be able to kind of be selective about this so that we can get a good data set, but also kind of limit the risk, and make sure that we're able to kind of identify inputs and outputs and kind of causality, as well as just generally being able to do complex things in many cases that are necessary. So we need to be able to have different pricing models that are available. So this can be any of the pricing models that you outlined, or possibly a hybrid of one of those. So quantity-based discounts, rules-based discounts, having these have intelligent inheritance so that if a customer-specific rule is in place or customer-specific quantity discount is in place, that can override a product-specific one that would the product one would override a subcategory would override a category would override a store, and then you can even have different stores that have different rules. So you kind of have this inheritance model that needs to be applicable. Then we need to be able to push and pull the data from a ERP system or another line of business application. And we also need to be able to combine this with discounts, promotions, being able to do things that are kind of auto applied discounts and promotions, or maybe they require a coupon code or some form of promotional kind of activity has to happen. We also want to be able to handle the scenario where we have rewards or some form of membership that the user has kind of become a part of. This can be based on revenue. It could be based on positive reviews. Maybe they have a really high review rating, where they're very good at participating in certain group purchases. And so by getting more people to participate, those people that more actively participate or maybe more consistently actually participate at the level they said they would, these kind of things can be rewards that we provide to the members. And ultimately, we want to deliver flexibility on how we get to a very consistent outcome of lowering the cost and being able to, like the slide says here, dynamically adjust the margins. So, how do you do that? And I think ultimately it's those things that I just mentioned, but we also need the ability to be able to adjust things on pricing for the shipping, be intelligent about taxes and some of the other calculations that we need to provide the users, and make all of this be as dynamic as possible. So combining all of those, that's really where it gets pretty tricky for some clients. And we just want to encourage you that one of the best starting places, if you haven't already kind of ventured into these areas, is to just draft out kind of where you are right now. Where are you at your current state? Where do you want to get to in the near to midterm? And then where do you want to get to in the long term? And you can even just bullet it out, make it simple so that you can take action. Get yourself to a point where you put your plan in place for where you want to get to, and then decompose that backwards, just like you do for anything else that you set goals and objectives for. And then what we want to share with you is we have literally been doing this for over a decade, in this space. And by necessity, Ron, we've just continued to establish these additional capabilities that are really, excuse me, permutations of this set of options and essentially a hybrid of some form that fits the specific buying group, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you made a comment there a second ago. I don't remember your exact word, but you said when you combine them, it gets really tricky. I think you said something similar to that. Well, where we've seen that is a lot of people are moving to these hybrid B2C, B2B sites now, right? And our platform does both. We always talk about C2C, D2C, B2C, B2B, and the ability to dynamically adjust within a single storefront to whoever the purchaser or buyer is that's logging in, right? Well, if you think about it, one of the things that we've seen occasionally, and one of the reasons why I've seen clients come to us looking for a better mousetrap, if you will, is because they used to have to maintain separate storefronts. And the reason is that at some point in time it bit them where, let's say, for example, I have a really aggressive pricing model and I'm only at 13% uplift for my master distributors, right? So I only have a 13% margin. But I'm also selling to D2C. I'm selling direct to consumers. And so I've got my marketing team out doing promotions for 10%, 20% off, and blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, because the platform isn't intelligent enough or dynamic enough to understand the ability to combine and not combine, you end up getting where somebody's significant other finds that coupon one weekend, gives it to their significant other who works for the buying group, who then goes in and only has a 13% margin, uses the 20% off coupon and buys at bulk for 7% under cost. And the platform didn't restrict that and it allowed that to combine. So I'm going to pop up just a quick screenshot. And this is just if I went into our platform and clicked add discount, and I'm creating a discount. And you'll notice here, there's a couple things on the screen here where we can set a priority. So when we go in and apply multiple coupons, when they're not combinable, do we set the priority and force one over the other? So you can set priority. Is it combinable or not? You can flip the toggle and allow it to be combined or not. And our platform can go in, and if they're not combinable, they could actually apply 4 different coupons if they're applicable, and it would calculate, and whichever coupon would give them the best deal, it would just give them that off and then would not apply the other 3, right? So there's definitely some trickiness, as Chris called it, to ensuring your platform doesn't give away product. And you want to be careful of that. So the last thing I wanted to do is I'm going to just briefly talk about, and I thought we'll change things up a little bit today. We talk a lot about these different things and really go into depth, but what I thought we might want to do is actually walk through one of these buying group platforms that we did and actually show you this in action in real time. And I'm hoping this comes through real clearly. If it doesn't, I'll go back in post-production and I'll clean it up a little bit. But I'm going to try to walk through this. So I'm going to pull this screen up here. So this is Brick Packaging, and Brick Packaging, they are a buying group for wineries and anybody that mass produces wine. So they actually sell the barrels and the bottles and the carriers and things to, might be liquor stores, and it might be entire chains, and it might be wineries and things like that. So I'm going to go through just a real quick example. One of the things that I'm going to talk about and showcase is the 3 different carts that we have. We actually have a checkout cart, represented by obviously the shopping cart. We have a quote cart, and then we have a sample basket. And there's reasons that we have 3 separate carts. So I'm going to walk through. So real quickly, I'm just going to rip this example out real quick. I'm going to go into wine. One of the things the integration did, you can see here, this bottle is out of stock, that bottle's in stock. So very quickly, the integration with their back end ERP, which in this case happens to be Dynamics GP, we've already gone in and calculated all of the retail uplifts. I'm not logged in yet. And so all of these prices are auto-calculated based on an uplift of retail price since I'm not logged in. And we've also determined whether it's in stock or not. You can see this one's maroon, it's in stock, out of stock, right? Before I even click on it. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to go to color, and I'm just going to pick cobalt blue. And I'm going to go grab this bottle right here. Now, as you can see, there's a couple images missing. This is just a copy of their site when it was in development, so I can go in and do these dummy orders and stuff. This isn't the live site. You can actually visit their live site at brickpackaging.com if you want to walk through their actual live website. So I'm going to click on this bottle. And I'm going to go look at this bottle. And so now one of the other things pulled from their live ERP integration is the real-time stock count. So there's 5,312 bottles in stock. I can see a bunch of information, and then I have all the specifications of the bottle here available to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to cart. I'm going to add to a quote, and I'm going to request a sample bottle. Now, the reason I did that is so that I could populate one in each of the 3 carts up here. So as we walk through this experience and pick which checkout we do, you can see how it's affected by this. So if I click on checkout, it's going to go in and run the custom routines that we've built into their platform, because this order now is going to go to the warehouse. The warehouse is not in a position to crack open a case and ship one bottle or provide a sample, right? So the reason we have these workflows is if Chris and I wanted to buy 10,001 bottles, we would put 10,001 bottles. We would, right? This is convert a shopping cart to a quote cart. So we could type in here 10,001. We could update that cart, convert that to a quote. It would pop them in here. We would click on that and it would send that to the sales team, and the sales team would come back and go, okay, Ron and Chris, if you're buying that many, here's your price. That would be a quote, right? So we can convert that to a quote. In this particular case, this comes back and says, hey, I'm sorry, this comes 16 bottles per case. You have to buy in lots of 16. We're not cracking open a case because this is the warehouse. Oh, okay, great. So let's buy 4,200 bottles and we'll update. So now I'm at $44,226. Now I may say, oh, I wonder if they'll give me a quantity break instead of the 1053 unit price. I wonder if they'll give me a quantity break. I could click convert to quote. It would automatically populate that into this cart, and then it would send it to the sales team and they could come back and give me a quote. But remember, I haven't logged in yet to check out. So we're at 1053, 44 grand. I'm going to go ahead and log in. It's going to look me up in the ERP and go, oh, hey, Lee from Black Star Farms, we know who you are. So you can see here, because of the quantity 1, at quantity 1, the price per bottle went from $10.53 down to $9.81, and my $44,000 order just dropped to $37,422, because that's the price now that I'm going to be given at that bottle. Now, I'm not sure exactly what that quantity break is. I could go back to this cart and it would tell me exactly what that is, but I'm going to show you at the tail end. The next step I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and just check out real quickly. So the great thing about this is we did integrations with 8 different trucking companies. So we can pick trucking companies. We can tell you exactly how many pallets those 4,200 bottles are going to cost, because it has to be shipped LTL. So we've got 37 full pallets with 7 layers of bottles and a 38th pallet that's 4 layers. Obviously, in this particular case, the primary location I'm shipping to is within 100 miles. So I offer local delivery and I'm not charging a pallet fee. If I actually flip that and said, no, I want to go to the Indy warehouse, it's going to recalculate. And now you can see each pallet is a $750 core charge, and free local delivery has disappeared because I'm no longer within the 100-mile radius of free delivery, right? And if I pick the different carriers, you can see if I go with Vitran, a lift gate's $24, $26. If I flip over to Dayton, it's $23, $25. If I go to UPS, it's $300 for a straight truck. So sometimes accessorials can be expensive. So now I'm going to continue the next step. And here's where I could actually go pay by credit card or PO. I'm just going to pay by PO, confirm my purchase and order. I can view and print my receipt in real time, or I can go to my user dashboard. I'm going to go to the dashboard, and you can see here is the PO that I just typed in. Here's my order, and you can see that it's cleared out the shopping cart. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and view that order. And you can see that at quantity 1, at retail, it was $10.53. At quantity 1, it was $9.81. And at quantity 4,200, it discounted me to $8.91. Right? So that right there is multi-tiered pricing in action in real time, right? I went in retail, it showed me the tiered pricing for retail uplift. I logged in, and at the quantity 1 to whatever that is in the table, I don't see the database, probably like quantities 1 to 10, the price gave it to $9.81. If I would have, instead of 4,200, probably done like 110 instead of 891 or 981, it probably would have been like 960 or 970, and it would have progressively gotten more as the price. Now, the very last thing I wanted to touch base on is we keep in many of these webinars throughout this series, we talked about make it easier to reorder from you than anybody else. So any quote, any order, any invoice, this one I just ordered, it's still pending. It hasn't even been fulfilled yet. But if I want to reorder this, I click one button and I just literally populated the cart and I can reorder that item that fast. You want to make it so that no matter where they are, no matter what they're looking at, a quote, a return, an invoice, a past order, an order 6 months ago, they're like, ooh, I want to reorder that. Make it so easy that it's literally a single click to go in and reorder. And I'm going to bring up another screenshot of our current platform. And you can see here, I'm in an order right now that has multiple items in it. And not only can I go in individually on the lines and see I can add to cart individually and reorder those, down at the bottom, you can see I got a button that says reorder all. I can literally go to a past order that I did 6 months ago that had 100 items on there, go to the bottom and click reorder all, and it'll populate the cart. I can go in, make adjustments to quantities if I want, and I can check out. So that's kind of the demo we wanted to go through and do this one up just a little bit differently and show you. Sometimes multi-tiered pricing is really hard to understand how it functions in real time. And so I wanted to at least just walk through at least one example showing a buying group platform that we designed and built for one of our clients, log in as a customer and show you how that tiered pricing changed 3 different times without me doing anything other than just logging in and then changing the quantity that I wanted to buy. And the price changed accordingly each time. So that's multi-tiered pricing. Chris, let me turn it over to you to go ahead and close us out today.
A great job, Ron. It was really nice to get to see that example in action. And I think that ultimately is a great example of what folks will get whenever they work with an expert in this particular arena. If you're interested in talking with us about your project, we do offer complimentary, no hassle discovery. And this really gives you an opportunity to get information from a qualified business analyst and experienced team members from our team with literally decades of experience combined in this space. And we'll be happy to help you with kind of engaging and understanding what your options are. Regardless, we would just want to say thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, we would love for you to just smash that like button, and group purchase of the like button will go very well for us with Google. And until then, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already so you can see more of these great videos, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks again for watching, and bye for now.
Bye for now.